Congressional District 6 sits north and west of most of the larger towns and cities in Montgomery County. It's more rural and more apt to swing Republican than other parts of the county. Democratic candidates, well, they have a healthy lineup of candidates in both parties. Let's look first at the Democrats. April McLean Delaney and Joe Vogel have been trading barbs in the past few weeks. It's gotten contentious. They are strong contenders. Are they, or are they just good at getting attention?
It's really a great field. There have been a lot of endorsements, and a lot of jabs have been paid for by independent parties, not by the candidates.
Let me just say, and this is your district, and you could have run, you were asked to run, you didn't want to run, okay?
God forbid.
Let's move on. What do you think?
You know, I think, again, I'm always open to seeing more women in these positions, and I haven't gotten a chance to meet Delegate Vogel. I understand he is Hispanic, he's Jewish. I know Senator Kagan, you guys work closely together, but I do understand that April Delaney did receive the Washington Post endorsement, and I think with her, with the household name, I think she has a strong chance.
Let me just say that Vogel has been especially aggressive in his criticism of his opponent. So let's look at what he says in his latest ad.
Let's be honest. Every Democrat for Congress supports abortion rights, gun safety, and the environment. I'm Joe Vogel, and the difference is our approach. April McLean Delaney donates to extreme Republicans and is friends with Tucker Carlson and Paul Ryan. I come from the school shooting generation, where we know that you can't hope politicians do the right thing, you have to make them. I approve this message because with our future hanging in the balance, which approach do you choose?
Now the polls tell us this race is close, so is going negative a good tactic?
Joe Vogel's campaign has been positive and about his background, his priorities, his accomplishments. There have been groups that have endorsed him. The teachers endorsed him, Equality Maryland, and many other groups, labor unions, the Sierra Club.
All right, but you saw in the Washington Post, they said this race, they're sniping at each other.
That's because they haven't paid attention to the authority lines. That's the little paid for by.
Okay, so you're saying it's not Vogel.
Don't say Joe Vogel.
Yeah.
And so he's getting blamed for something that those who support him have done. He has no control. They are called independent expenditures because they are independent.
That's right.
Okay.
I think he's been masterful at speaking to, again, young, average voters, because there's a disconnect within the Democratic Party where you have kind of, the dinosaurs that have just been waiting in line, waiting their turn. I think Joe has done a really good job of just simplifying and just speaking normal English so that he can attract young voters.
Now, Delaney has had some campaign management changes in the past month. Her new ad is distinctly softer.
Having raised 4 daughters, I know how to work problems out. I'm April McLean Delaney, running for Congress to rein in MAGA extremists and find common ground. I served in the Biden administration as a tech policy leader, and I helped build a nonprofit dedicated to protecting our kids online. Let's safeguard kids' privacy, address the mental health crisis, and for my 4 daughters and yours, regain the right to choose. I'm April McLean Delaney, and I approve this message because it's time for some common sense.
State Senator Kagan, you want to jump in?
So I think that's a great ad by April McLean Delaney. Getting the Washington Post endorsement was interesting, but it was super late. They released it at 5:30 on Friday night, 10 days before Election Day. So I'm not sure how effective that will be. I'm sure that some of the money that she and her husband are putting into the campaign will help amplify that.
A lot of people read the Saturday op-ed.
Absolutely.
And so it did get in. And Delegate Morales, what do you think?
I wish it would have been a little bit more, I would say. I don't see it as feminine as it could have been. I think she's still kind of, using like an old strategy book where, you have to be like too aggressive. She should play to her strengths as a lady, as a woman.
And let's add in candidate Ashwani Jain has some hefty credentials. Obama White House, cancer survivor. Let's check out his ad.
I support Ashwani Jain because he's the first candidate to support a climate change agenda.
He is the most accessible candidate and spends all of his time talking to voters at their doors rather than fundraising.
Because he has a comprehensive housing platform.
I support Ashwani Jain because he was the first in the race to call for improved and expanded Medicare for all. I support Jane because he believes in equity and was the first to have an LGBT rights platform.
Because he was the first candidate to come out with a specific plan to reduce gun violence and to protect our reproductive rights.
I support Ashwani Jain because he is already getting money out of politics.
I support Jain because he was the first candidate in this race to call for a ceasefire in Gaza.
He wants to make public college free and cancel student debt.
I support Jain because he has a comprehensive educational platform.
He's fighting for a $26 minimum wage.
Because he has the federal experience needed to service in Congress.
He supports veterans like me.
Hi, I'm Ashwani Jain, and I am running for Congress in my home district, not just to make history as Maryland's first millennial or first Asian American to serve in Congress, but because I have specific policy solutions to open the doors of opportunity for our community. You can learn more and join us at janeforcongress.com. Thanks so much. I'm Ashwani Jain, and I approve this message.
Well, so who else among the Democrats in the Congressional District 6 should be getting some consideration?
So I'll give a shout out to Delegate Leslie Lopez, who's a very good legislator and has a job and a family, and I don't know quite how she's doing it all. Hagerstown Mayor Takesha Martinez, the first African-American mayor of Hagerstown, is newly appointed, but she's working hard. There are other people who are credible and hardworking.
And you have not endorsed at this point?
I have not.
And?
Neither have I.
The Republican slate for the Congressional 6th District looks equally formidable, with lots of people to learn more about. Who stands out here? I'm going to go right to you, Mr. Sullivan.
I think the Republican platform, Republican candidates, it's a really great, diverse group. They include anything from Mariela Roca and Tom Royals, who were actually served in the military and actually are raising families here in this district, people who actually have experience living and dying and paying taxes here. We also have Neil Parrott, who's actually one of the main drivers of the redistricting. So he actually has been a delegate, he has a lot of experience. We have Chris Heiser, who was actually a chaplain and former police officer. We have Brenda Cham, who, having met all these people, she is actually just a very nice, simple, common sense person. And then, of course, is also former legislator,
Yep.
And just as is Neil Parrott.
Yep.
And so, I mean,
I served with Neil on the Judiciary Committee.
And as is Dan Cox.
yes. So there's
a former delegate.
The key here is there's a wide diversity of candidates that would be great, I mean, for your people to actually take a quick look at.
Okay, so we have some familiar names on the ballot, like Neil Parrott. Now, this ad isn't new, but it's definitely memorable.
I'm Delegate Neil Parrott, and this is Neil the Parrott. I'm running for Congress to help your family and mine. He's a talking bird. Neil, repeat after me. Inflation.
David Trone.
Defund the police.
David Trone.
87,000 IRS agents.
David Trone.
Okay, now for something different. A lifelong Marylander who cares about our country and will stand up for you.
That's me.
No, Neil, that's me. I'm Neil Parrott, and I approve this message because things have to change.
Me too.
Thanks, Neil.
Well, another well-known Republican candidate for Congressional 6 is Dan Cox. His approach looks a lot more traditional.
I'm speaking to you for the first time as your candidate for Congress in Maryland's beautiful Frederick County, where my wife, Valerie, and I live with our children. In the 6th District in the county I've called home for over 40 years of my life, a district that spans from northern Montgomery County through Frederick, Washington, Allegheny, and Garrett counties. A beautiful district steeped in history that was once represented by my former boss, Republican Congressman Roscoe Bartlett, for 2 decades. We as a nation are facing challenges like few other times in American history. The decisions being made in the halls of Washington, D.C. will genuinely impact our individual freedom, our families, businesses, jobs, and schools. At this moment, hundreds of thousands of people from all over the world are illegally crossing our southern border, entering our neighborhoods unchecked, and disregarding our laws. And the fentanyl crisis is claiming lives in our district.
Well, Neil Parrott has run for the position before. Dan Cox has run for governor. Is this year Republican can turn this district, Mr. Sullivan?
We certainly hope so. And I think we have some, again, great candidates. Besides just Neil Parrott and Dan Cox, we have, again, Mariela Roca, we have Tom Royals. We have really a wide group of candidates. And the good thing is they're all focused on a few basic common sense issues. And I think our candidates really relate more so to the people in CD6, from paying taxes, raising children, understanding really what's going on in the country, and having been on the front lines of it.
What do the Democrats have to do to hold the seat that David Trone vacates to run for Senate?
Well, first off, as a Democrat, I'm hoping that the Republicans will elect the most extreme, least electable person. Dan Cox already got decimated when Wes Moore was the Democratic nominee and Cox was running for governor. He is an extremist. He is a MAGA Republican who loves talking about Donald Trump. I don't think that reflects the politics of the 6th Congressional District. With a U.S. Senate race, with President Biden, with abortion on the ballot, literally on the ballot, to put that on in our Maryland Constitution, I think we're going to have Democratic enthusiasm and good turnout.
I couldn't agree more. Just looking at how the demographics are changing, a lot of folks, more diverse folks moving into Frederick County because housing affordability has been an issue, and young families as well. I'm very concerned about the xenophobic rhetoric that we hear from Dan Cox, and why well-established Republicans are not talking about Dan Cox, because I think that's the strategy. With the least electable nominee for the District 6 Republican slot would be the best position for us, for Democrats.
And for the latest campaign and election news, be sure to sign on to mymcmedia.org or the MCM YouTube channel.